He is a racist, and he stokes racism in this country, and it does not just offend our sensibilities, it fundamentally changes the character of this country, and it leads to violence.
Of course, this is part of a climate where people who are in the grip of this hateful extremist ideology feel validated, and they feel validated from all the way at the top, and that is part of our problem.
When you have the president from the highest moral office in our land talking about invasions and infestations and whole countries, the kind of things that come out of his mouth that so harm the moral fabric of our nation, he is responsible.
As you saw there, the 2020 Democratic candidates jumping on the mass shootings this weekend and placing the blame squarely on the president as well as his rhetoric. Now, even though nearly 70% of the people asked, including 57% of Republicans, want restrictions on firearms, D.C. hasn't done anything to curb the violence. And in a poll taken before these shootings, gun control was not even in the top 5 of the most important issues for the electorate. It doesn't even get double-digit support, as you can see from the graphic on your screen. Healthcare, immigration, the economy, clearly the top issues. Democratic strategist Robin Biro, he joins us now. He also worked as a regional director on Barack Obama's 2008 campaign, and he was a delegate for Hillary Clinton at the 2016 convention. And Robin, let me start off before we get on each of the partisan sides on a general policy, which is 90-some-odd% of the American public can't even agree if it's day or night. But yet they agree they want universal background checks. Again, strip all the morality, all the ethics, but from a purely transactional political issue, why isn't it politically wise for both parties, not just Democrats, to get behind a real universal background check? Because even the plurality of the NRA members want it.
Yes, I'm so glad that you said that, Rich. What a great question. And look, we've got a bipartisan bill that's been floundering in the Senate that addresses this issue. So I hope that's why you see these Democratic candidates calling for their summer session to be cut short and go back and address this. I understand on the right that they've been preoccupied with confirming federal judges. I get it. But this bill is important, and it's had a lot of bipartisan support. Not only does it improve our background system, but it also addresses really the only loophole that actually does exist, which is in private transaction, private person-to-person sales, which that bill would call for those to be consummated at a gun dealership or at a police department. I've been saying that for years. That's just common sense.
You know, Robin, I know that you were involved deeply in Democratic politics when Sandy Hook happened. And as I've said this hour, I completely misread the national appetite for change at the time, where I thought, especially with the tone deafness we got from the NRA, and I saw real Republicans starting to hedge from positions that we were going to see material change. But I've had a lot of folks that were involved in the negotiations tell me privately that maybe the Democrats overshot. Maybe they tried to get too much of a comprehensive four-pronged piece of legislation through the Congress made up of the time. Do you agree with that? Was it the message, or was it the messenger that Obama shouldn't have outsourced it to Congress? Use past for prelude. Did they screw up that they wanted too much back then, or did they not push hard enough?
Rich, they overshot. And typical in any kind of negotiation, you ask for more than what you think you're going to get. So I understand why they did overshoot, but really, we just need common sense in the room. When I wanted, after maybe the Las Vegas shooting, I linked up with arms dealers and said, hey, where can you tell me that we need to improve our system? And they said it was with the private party sales, and that there could be reforms made to background checks. That is common sense. Really, both parties should get along with that. And really, the NRA also, for the most part. Now, the NRA did donate to about 10 candidates to block this bill that, like I said, that is pending for the background check, for the improved background checks. But by and large, Americans, like you said, do support this. It just makes common sense. And we're past time. We need to do this now. But absolutely no gun grab. That's a death knell for my party. If people like Kamala Harris want to go out and say that they're going to go door to door with police and take weapons, like as she just said this weekend, she's done.
To that end, sometimes I think the general public, Robin, overcomplicates or gives D.C. too much credit for how complicated it is. This one ain't complicated. The House has already passed something. Mitch McConnell will not allow a vote on it. And for folks who say, well, it's not more nuanced than that. It's the same thing we went through with the 9/11 Victims Compensation Fund until he was shamed, till he finally let that get a floor vote. It's the same thing for this. This is not an overly comprehensive piece of legislation. It's rather narrowcast what got through the House, and I believe it would get majority public approval. Again, I come down to the basic transactional politics. Why wouldn't Mitch McConnell, he's not going to get primaried in Kentucky. Why isn't it in his best political interest to avoid a possible challenging general to let this thing come for a floor vote? Because he's going to be killed. Forget about Moscow, Mitch. He's going to be the guy who won't even let background checks get to a floor vote if he's not careful. Tell me where my math is wrong, because I think this is safer ground for him than he leads other folks to believe.
You're exactly correct. This is safe ground. It would be prudent for him to do this. To answer your question as to why he won't, he's labeled himself as the grim reaper of any legislation coming out of the Democratic Congress. So, but, Americans, that's part of what I need for them to understand, too. That's part of what gave us Trump, was that we were refusing to work together, and he was the anti-politician. The Republicans need to understand that, too. They're actually pretty vulnerable. If they refuse to work with us on even common sense things, they themselves might get replaced and put someone else in position, just like Donald Trump came into power.
Hey, Robin, I appreciate a couple with you today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rich.
All right, everybody, stay with us. When we come back, we'll wrap things up.